I want you to think of someone in your life. Someone you used to respect, maybe deeply. Maybe they were a friend, un partenaire, a colleague, a mentor. Someone whose presence made you feel something, whose words carried weight, whose opinion actually mattered to you. Now I want you to think about the moment that changed. You don't have to go looking hard for it. It's already there. Some specific moment, or maybe a slow accumulation of moments, where something shifted, where the way you saw them changed. You didn't announce it. You didn't sit them down and say, "I no longer respect you." It was quieter than that. You just started seeing them differently, a little less. And here's what I want you to sit with. What if someone right now is having that exact experience about you? What if there are people in your life, people whose respect you've never questioned, people you assume are still fully in your corner? What if they are slowly, silently losing respect for you, and you have absolutely no idea? Because here's the thing about respect. Nobody tells you when they're losing it. They don't send a notification. They don't schedule a meeting. They just quietly start treating you differently. They stop asking for your opinion. They stop bringing you into important conversations. They stop being fully present when you talk. They stop taking what you say seriously. And you keep going, completely unaware, wondering why things feel slightly off, why opportunities seem to pass you by, why the room changes in a subtle way when you walk in. Today, we are going to go deep on this. Every behavior, every habit, every pattern that silently erodes the respect people have for you. And more importantly, exactly what to do instead. Stay with me. This is going to be uncomfortable. And it is going to be one of the most valuable hours of your life. Section 1. What respect actually is. Before we talk about how to lose it, we need to understand what respect actually is. Because most people have a shallow understanding of it. They think respect is about being liked. It's not. They think respect is about being agreeable or successful or impressive. It's not that either. Real respect, the kind that actually changes how people treat you, talk about you, and include you, is built on something much more specific. It is built on predictability of integrity. Let me explain what that means. When people respect someone, what they're really doing is this. They've built a mental model of that person based on what they've observed. How they handle pressure. How they treat people with less power than them. How they behave when no one is watching. How they respond when they're wrong. How they show up when it costs them something. And over time, through repeated observation, they form a prediction. When things get hard, this person will do the right thing. That prediction, that internal trust, is what respect is. It's not admiration of talent. It's not envy of results. It is trust in character. And here's why this matters so much. Because most of the ways people lose respect have nothing to do with dramatic failures. Most respect is lost through small, daily, almost invisible behaviors. Behaviors that most people don't even recognize as harmful. Behaviors that have become so normalized, so automatic, that people don't realize they're chipping away at the foundation of how the world sees them. Every single day. And the worst part? The people around them are noticing, even when they say nothing. Especially when they say nothing. Because silence isn't the same as approval. Sometimes silence is just people deciding you're no longer worth the conversation. That's what we're dealing with today. Let's get into it. Section 2. The behaviors that destroy respect. Behavior 1. Making promises you don't keep. This is the #1 silent killer of respect. Bar none. And it happens so constantly, so casually, that most people don't even register it as a problem. I'll call you tomorrow. I'll get that to you by Friday. We should get together soon. I'll be there. Words. Just words. Spoken easily. Forgotten quickly. But here's what happens in the mind of every person who hears those words. They make a small deposit in your account. They extend a small amount of trust. They update their model of you to include this new promise. And then, when the call doesn't come, when Friday passes with no delivery, when soon becomes never. They make a withdrawal. A quiet, unspoken withdrawal of trust. And here's the critical thing most people miss. They don't tell you. They don't say, hey, you said you'd call and you didn't, and that bothers me. They just add just. They lower their expectations. They update their mental model of you. Don't count on them. Their word doesn't really mean much. They mean well, but they don't follow through. And the devastating thing is, you probably think things are fine. Because the relationship continues. The interactions continue. But there's less substance to them now. Less weight. The way people include you in their decisions starts to quietly shrink. Now, why does this happen? Two main reasons. The first is social performance. Most unkept promises are not made with intent to deceive. They're made in the moment to appear agreeable, generous, or committed, without a genuine internal check of whether you'll actually follow through. It feels good to say, I'll be there. It feels connecting. But the subconscious calculation isn't made. Will I actually be there? The second reason is overcommitment. People pleasers are chronic promise breakers. Not because they're dishonest, but because they say yes to everything in the moment, and then reality forces a no after the fact. The fix is brutally simple, but requires a level of integrity that most people resist. Under-promise. Over-deliver. Every time. If you're not sure you can do it, don't say you will. If you say you'll do it, do it. If something changes, communicate before the deadline, not after. This single behavior, practiced consistently, will do more for your reputation than almost anything else. Because in a world where people routinely overpromise and underdeliver, someone who reliably does exactly what they said they would do, that person becomes extraordinary. Behavior 2. Speaking just to be heard. We live in a world that rewards volume. The loudest voice in the room. The most opinions. The fastest response. The most content. And as a result, most people have developed a deeply ingrained habit of speaking, not because they have something important to say, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. They fill every gap. They offer opinions on everything. They jump into conversations they have no business being in. They talk and talk and talk. And initially, especially with new people, this can come across as engaging, even impressive. But over time, people start to notice. They notice that this person says a lot, but means very little. They notice that the words are plentiful, but the substance is scarce. And they start to do something powerful. They start to filter you out. Not consciously, but automatically. Your voice becomes background noise. Because the human brain is extraordinarily efficient. When it registers that a particular source of information carries low signal-to-noise ratio, it deprioritizes that source. It literally processes you less. And the result? Your words carry less weight. Your opinions are less influential. Your presence has less impact. All because you never learned to be quiet. The most respected people in any room, notice this next time you're in one, are almost never the loudest. They speak less. But when they speak, everyone listens. Why? Because they've trained the people around them to understand. When this person opens their mouth, something worth hearing is about to come out. That is power. Real power. Quiet power. And it's built through one habit. Speak with intention, or don't speak at all. Before you open your mouth, ask one quick internal question. Does what I'm about to say make this conversation better? If yes, say it. If no, sit with the discomfort of silence. That discomfort is not a problem. It is discipline. And every time you choose intentional silence over reflexive noise, you are depositing into your respect account. Behavior 3. Complaining without acting. Complaining is socially contagious. It bonds people. It creates shared identity. It provides a temporary sense of relief. And in small doses, it's completely human and totally fine. But there is a type of person that every social environment has, and that everyone slowly loses respect for. The chronic complainer. The person who always has a problem but never has a solution. The person who narrates their suffering in exquisite detail, but takes no action to change it. The person whose world is perpetually, specifically, elaborately unfair. And here is what the people around a chronic complainer come to believe, silently, over time. They're choosing this. Not cruelly. Not without empathy. But after you've watched someone complain about the same job for 2 years and take no steps to leave. After you've watched someone complain about the same relationship for a year and take no steps to change it. After you've watched someone complain about their health, their finances, their situation. Month after month, year after year, with no apparent movement. You arrive, reluctantly, at a conclusion. This person has decided to stay here. The complaints are not a cry for help. They are a chosen identity. And once people conclude that about you, once they believe your problems are a preference, not a predicament, their empathy evaporates. And so does their respect. Because respect is rooted in agency. In the belief that you are taking ownership of your life. A person who complains without acting is broadcasting the opposite of ownership. They are broadcasting victimhood. And victims, no matter how lovable, no matter how sympathetic their story, do not command respect. The shift is not complicated. For every complaint, offer a next step. Not even a solution. Just a step. This job is draining me, so I'm spending 30 minutes this week updating my resume. This relationship is not working, so I'm going to have an honest conversation this week. My finances are a mess, so I'm reading 1 chapter of a personal finance book tonight. The step doesn't have to be big. It has to be real. It signals to everyone around you, and more importantly, to yourself, that you are a person of agency. And agency is the heartbeat of respect. Behavior 4. Inconsistency. Inconsistency is one of the most destructive forces in any person's reputation. And yet it is also one of the most commonly defended. I'm complex. Y contient multitude. People change. And yes, all of that is true. But there is a difference between depth and unpredictability. There is a difference between evolving and being unreliable. Think about what inconsistency actually looks like from the outside. You're generous one day and cold the next. You're enthusiastic about a project and then suddenly disengaged. You hold people to a standard that you yourself don't follow. You enforce a rule with one person and ignore it with another. You say your values are X, but your behavior regularly reflects Y. From the outside, this creates one powerful, consistent signal. I cannot predict this person. And unpredictability, in humans, just like in the natural world, is a threat signal. When people cannot predict you, they cannot trust you. When they cannot trust you, they cannot fully respect you. They may like you. They may enjoy your company. But there will always be a ceiling on their trust. A gap they leave between themselves and you. A part of their real self, and their real plans, they will not share. Because you are unpredictable. And unpredictable things must be handled with caution. The most respected people are almost boring in their consistency. They show up the same way. Every day. Not robotically, but reliably. You know what you're getting. You know how they'll respond. You know what they stand for. And in a world full of people who shift and spin and change with the wind, a person of consistent character is remarkable. They are safe. They are solid. They are real. Build your consistency the same way you'd build any other habit. Start with your non-negotiables. The 3 to 5 values or behaviors that define who you are, and commit to them publicly, daily, without exception. Let people test you. Let them see that you hold. Every time you hold, you build. Behavior 5. Seeking validation constantly. This one is deeply uncomfortable because it lives in the territory of need. And nobody likes admitting they need something from others. But chronic validation seeking is one of the clearest signals of low self-concept. And the people around you can smell it. Validation seeking looks like this. The person who ends every statement with right? Or don't you think? Or am I wrong? The person who changes their opinion the moment they sense even a hint of disagreement. The person who constantly fishes for compliments by presenting false modesty. The person who needs to announce every accomplishment, not to share, but to be seen. The person who physically changes when they walk into a room that isn't receiving them well, who shrinks, becomes anxious, loses their voice. All of these behaviors broadcast one core message. My sense of self depends on what you think of me. And here is how people respond to that. Again, silently, without saying a word. They stop giving it. Not cruelly, just instinctively. Because humans are wired to respond to confidence and repelled by neediness. It's not a character flaw. It's an evolutionary response. Neediness signals instability. Instability signals risk. And we unconsciously move away from risk. The cruel irony is that the person seeking validation most desperately is the least likely to receive it. Because their seeking creates the very distance that starves them. The path out of this is not to stop caring what people think. That's not realistic. That's not human. The path is to build an internal reference system so strong, a self-concept so grounded, that the external validation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. You stop needing the room to confirm you. You confirm yourself. And the moment you stop needing it, paradoxically, it starts to arrive. Because the energy of quiet confidence is magnetic. People move toward people who are complete within themselves. Build that completeness. Through the morning practice. Through knowing your values. Through acting in alignment with those values regardless of whether anyone is watching. The security you're looking for, the grounded certainty that the world's approval cannot give you, exists only on the inside. Go find it there. Behavior 6. Disrespecting people with less power. I want to pause here and tell you something that the most successful, most respected people I have ever studied all share. Without exception. Every single one of them. They are extraordinary in how they treat people who can do nothing for them. The waiter. The interne. The janitor. The customer service representative. The person at the bottom of the hierarchy. These people watch how you treat them. And so does everyone else. There is a concept sometimes called the waiter test. The idea that how someone treats a waiter reveals more about their character than almost any other observable behavior. Because treating someone well when they have power over you is pure strategy. Anyone can do that. But treating someone with dignity when they have no power over you, when there's nothing to gain, when no one important is watching, that is character. And character is what respect is built on. The person who is charming to the boss and dismissive to the intern is not a respected person. They are a strategically kind person. And the people around them know the difference. They may not say it. They may not challenge it. But they are cataloging it. And every instance of that selective kindness, that hierarchical warmth, is a withdrawal from your respect account. The standard is simple but demanding. Treat every person as if they matter, because they do. Not as a performance. Not because you'll be caught. Because the kind of person you want to be, the kind of person who commands genuine, lasting, deep respect, treats people well as a default. Not as a strategy. As a character. Behavior 7. Reacting emotionally in high-stakes moments. You've seen this person. Maybe you've been this person. The moment the temperature rises, the moment conflict enters the room, the moment they're challenged or criticized or threatened, they lose it. Not necessarily in a dramatic, table-flipping way. Sometimes it's subtler. The voice rises slightly. The words get a little sharper. The logic starts to dissolve and the emotion takes over. The defensiveness floods in. The arguments become about winning rather than truth. And in that moment, everyone watching adjusts their perception. Because here's what emotional reactivity in high-stakes moments communicates to everyone around you. I am not safe to challenge. And that is a catastrophic signal. Because the people who matter most, the people whose respect is most valuable, are the ones who will inevitably challenge you. They'll disagree with you. They'll bring you hard feedback. They'll test your ideas in ways that are uncomfortable. And if you've demonstrated, even once, clearly, that being challenged destabilizes you, they'll stop. Not the challenge. They'll stop bringing it to you. They'll start managing your feelings instead of engaging your mind. They'll give you sanitized, diplomatic versions of reality. They'll protect you from the truth. Because engaging with your truth costs more than it's worth. And a person who can't handle the truth, gradually, gets less and less of it. Their world gets smaller. Their feedback loop gets tighter. Their blind spots get bigger. All because they never learned to stay calm under pressure. The fix is not suppression. Stuffing emotion down doesn't make you calm, it makes you ticking. The fix is regulation. Learning to feel the charge, the heat of being challenged, and not letting it run your mouth before your mind has processed it. A pause. A breath. A question instead of a statement. Help me understand what you mean. That's interesting. Tell me more. For words that diffuse almost any conflict and signal a level of psychological security that commands enormous respect. The calm person in the room is always the most powerful person in the room. Always. Behavior 8. Living below your own standards. This last behavior is the one that cuts deepest. Because it's not about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. And how you see yourself shows. There is a particular kind of sadness that people radiate when they know, on some level they cannot deny, that they are living below their own potential. When they know they're capable of more but are choosing less. When the gap between who they are and who they could be has become a silent, daily companion. People feel this. They sense the low-grade resignation. The energy of someone who has given up on themselves, even slightly, even partially, has a texture. And it is not the texture of someone who inspires respect. It's the texture of someone people feel sorry for. Sympathy is not respect. Pity is not admiration. And deep down, the person living below their own standards knows the difference. They know people are kind, but not convinced. Friendly, but not inspired. Here's what I want to say directly. The most powerful respect you can ever earn is your own. Not because the opinions of others don't matter, they do, and it's okay to acknowledge that. But because the moment you start living in genuine alignment with the fullest version of yourself, the moment you stop negotiating with your potential and start honoring it, something changes in you. A quietness, a solidity, a groundedness, and everyone around you feels it, without you saying a word, without you performing anything. The respect just arrives, because you've already decided you're worth it. And people treat you according to the decision you've made about yourself. Not the one you've told them. The one you're living. Section 3. The Respect Rebuilding Framework. All right. We've been in the hard territory. The uncomfortable inventory. And if you've been honest with yourself, really honest, you've recognized yourself in at least a few of those behaviors. That's okay. That recognition, that willingness to see yourself clearly, is itself an act of self-respect. Most people can't do it. Most people spend their lives defending the version of themselves that isn't working rather than building the version that will. You're here. That's different. So now let's build. Here is the framework. Simple, executable, and based on how respect is actually rebuilt when it's been damaged. Step 1. The integrity audit. You cannot fix what you cannot see. So the first step is to conduct what I call an integrity audit. This is a private, honest inventory of where your behavior and your self-concept are misaligned. Sit down, with a pen and paper, not a screen, and answer these questions. In what areas of my life am I making promises I'm not keeping? Be specific. Don't generalize. Not I'm bad with commitments. But I told my colleague I'd send that report by Wednesday for 3 weeks in a row. Where am I speaking more than I'm contributing? Where do you fill silence with noise? Where do you give opinions you're not qualified to give? Where am I complaining without acting? What is the one situation in your life you've complained about for more than 6 months without taking a meaningful step to change it? Where is my behavior inconsistent with my stated values? What do you say you believe, that your actions regularly contradict? Where am I seeking validation instead of creating value? Where do you need the approval before you'll proceed? Write it all down. Don't filter. Don't protect yourself. This audit is not for anyone else to see. It's for you to see. And what you'll find, in almost every case, is that the patterns are not random. They cluster around specific insecurities. Specific beliefs. Specific old programs running in the background. Seeing the pattern is the beginning of changing it. Step 2. The identity contract. Once you've seen the gaps, you need to consciously choose the identity you're stepping into. Not aspirationally. Not someday. An identity contract is a written declaration of who you are becoming, framed in the present tense, that you revisit every single morning. It answers one question with clarity and specificity. Who am I? Not who do I want to be. Who am I? Right now. In this process. Choosing this direction. It sounds like this. I am someone whose word is iron. When I say I'll do something, I do it, or I communicate in advance if that changes. I am someone who speaks with intention. I add value to conversations, or I create value through my silence. I am someone who takes full ownership of their circumstances. I focus my energy on my response, not on my grievances. I am someone who is consistent in character, whose behavior reflects their values regardless of who is watching. Write your contract. Read it every morning. Not as an aspiration. As a fact you are in the process of proving. Step 3. The behavior scoreboard. Ideas without tracking don't become habits. They become regrets. The behavior scoreboard is a weekly practice. 10 minutes, maximum. At the end of each week, you score yourself, honestly, without judgment, on 5 key behaviors you've committed to. 1 to 5. 5 being fully aligned. 1 being significant drift. Not to punish yourself. To create data. Because when you track something over time, you see trends. And trends tell you things that single moments cannot. A 3-week pattern of 2s in a particular area tells you something important. It tells you that area needs deliberate attention. Maybe a different approach. Maybe an accountability partner. Maybe a deeper look at what's making it hard. But you can only see the trend if you're tracking. And here's what tracking also does. It creates commitment. Something changes in your psychology when you know you'll be reviewing your own behavior at the end of the week. You make decisions slightly differently when you know you'll be holding yourself accountable to them. That accountability, even when it's only to yourself, is one of the most powerful behavioral change tools available. Step 4. The 30-day reputation reset. Respect is not rebuilt in a conversation. It's rebuilt through sustained, consistent behavior over time. That's why I recommend the 30-day reputation reset. For 30 consecutive days, you commit to practicing one specific behavior that directly addresses your biggest area of integrity drift. 1 behavior, not 5. 1. Because focus creates results that scattered good intentions never do. If your biggest issue is unkept promises, for 30 days, you make only promises you are certain you can keep, and you keep every single one. If your biggest issue is chronic complaining, for 30 days, every complaint is followed immediately by one concrete action. If your biggest issue is emotional reactivity, for 30 days, you pause and breathe before you respond in every heated moment. 30 days. 1 behavior. Full commitment. At the end of 30 days, look at the people around you. Not at what they say. At how they treat you. At whether the room feels different when you walk in. At whether people are bringing you things they didn't bring you before. At whether conversations have more depth and weight. You won't need anyone to tell you it's working. You'll feel it. Section 4. Commanding respect long-term. Everything we've talked about today, every behavior, every framework, every practice, points toward one fundamental truth. And I want to state it clearly before we close. Respect is not something you earn from others. It is something you earn from yourself, and then the world reflects it back to you. Every person you know who commands deep, genuine, lasting respect, they are not performing. They are not strategically managing their image. They are not carefully curating how they appear. They are simply and profoundly living in alignment with their own values. They do what they say. They say what they mean. They treat people well, not because it benefits them, but because it is who they are. They stay calm under pressure, not because they're emotionless, but because they've built the internal infrastructure to regulate rather than react. They speak with intention. They hold their commitments. They act rather than complain. They remain consistent even when it's inconvenient. And they have done this, not for weeks, not for months, but long enough that it has become identity. It is simply who they are. And when character becomes identity, when the values stop being rules you follow and become traits you live, something extraordinary happens. You stop trying to be respected, and you become the kind of person that respect is the natural response to. That is the destination. And it is reachable. Not because you're special, not because the stars align, but because every single day, in small, consistent, mostly invisible choices, you choose the person you're becoming over the comfort of the person you've been. That is the work. And that work is available to you, right now, today. Section 5. The Daily Practice. Let me leave you with something practical you can start tonight. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Tonight. The 3 questions I want you to answer before you go to sleep. Written down, not just thought. Question 1. Where did I earn respect today? What did you do that aligned with the person you're committing to become? Hold that. Let your brain register it. This is how you reinforce new identity. Question 2. Where did I erode it? One moment. One behavior. One reaction that you would take back if you could. No judgment. No shame. Just clarity. Clarity is the beginning of change. Question 3. What is one specific thing I will do differently tomorrow? Not a vague intention. A specific behavior. A moment you can anticipate and decide right now how you'll handle differently. 3 questions. 10 minutes. Do this every night for 30 days. And watch, quietly, steadily, as the respect you have for yourself begins to grow. And as it grows, watch the world around you add just accordingly. We've covered a lot of ground today. The invisible ways respect is lost. The behaviors that erode how people see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. The framework for rebuilding. The daily practice that makes it permanent. And the deeper truth underneath all of it. That respect is not a strategy. It is a state of being. One you build, quietly, consistently, day by day, through choices that cost you something. Through holding your word when breaking it would be easier. Through staying calm when reacting would be faster. Through acting when complaining would be more comfortable. Through treating every human being as if they matter, because they do. None of this is easy, but all of it is worth it. Because the version of you that commands genuine respect, that walks into any room with quiet certainty, that doesn't need the approval because the integrity is already there. That person is not far away. They are one consistent decision at a time. And you can start right now. Now before you go, I have one ask. If this video gave you something real, if you saw yourself in any of those behaviors and felt the honest, uncomfortable spark of recognition, if you found one idea, one shift, one concept that is going to change how you show up, subscribe to this channel. Hit that button right now, because this is what we do here. Every week we go deep. Not motivation that evaporates in an hour. Not surface-level tips you've heard 100 times. We explore the real mechanics of human behavior, the psychology of success, respect, influence, and transformation, with a depth and honesty that most people are afraid to bring. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs it. Because you know at least one person in your life right now who would be changed by this conversation. And the best thing you can do for the people you care about is give them better ideas to think with. I'll see you in the next one. Think differently.